Thank you for joining us. You've seen how stories from the past, from both books and comics, can inspire us with courage and creativity. Here on the Fulmo Talk series, we carry that spirit forward into the world of ideas. The Fulmo Talk series 2025 has been created to highlight the Fulmo platform. The Fulmo platform was initially created to address the student suicide crisis in India. It has since grown into a full-fledged games hub with happiness practices paired with games. These happiness practices are designed to cultivate resilience, optimism, and gratitude. This talk series has been developed in association with the Esperanto and Conlang Society of South India. Some of the sentences spoken in the introduction and conclusion are in Esperanto, but no knowledge of Esperanto is needed since we always translate all sentences into English. In fact, my knowledge of Esperanto is not very high, so I've often been reading from a script. Today, we are grateful to have you with us as we explore new perspectives together. Today's talk continues Fulmo's journey, full of insight and thought. So, let's begin. Saluton al ciu. Hello to everyone. Ni ĝojas ke vi estas kun ni hodiaŭ por alia inspira konversacio. We're glad you're with us today for another inspiring conversation. I'm saying certain things in Esperanto, but I'll be transferring everything into English for the benefit of our English-speaking viewers. Ĉiu parolado estas nova aventuro, kaj ni ne povas atendi por komenci ĉi tiun. Every talk is a new adventure, and we can't wait to begin this one. Tre varma bonvenon al la Fulmo serio, kie allogaj ideoj, personaj rakontoj kaj translimaj perspektivoj kuniĝas. A very warm welcome to the Fulmo Talk series, where compelling ideas, personal stories, and interesting perspectives come together. I'm especially pleased today to introduce today's guest, Dr. Nalin Sharda. Let me read out his bio. Dr. Nalin Sharda was awarded the BTech and PhD degrees by the Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. As being an IITian, I'm just so proud to have him here on the show. He has held teaching positions at Curtin, Murdoch, and Victoria Universities in Australia, and visiting positions at Aachen University, Germany, Karlstad University, Sweden, JP University of Information Technology, India, and Florida Atlantic University, USA. He has presented many SOTL seminars as a distinguished lecturer of the IEEE Education Society. He has also presented over 60 technical seminars, lectures, and keynote addresses in Austria, Australia, Bangladesh, China, Hong Kong, India, Japan, Singapore, and the list goes on, Sweden, Switzerland, UAE, and the USA. So I'm really pleased to welcome him to the Fulmo Talk series. Ni tiu komencu, la vorto estas via, Dr. Sharda. Let's get right into it. Over to you, Dr. Sharda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anand. And thank you for inviting me. And saluton to all the audience. I've started learning Esperanto just today. Look, as you introduced me, I've been an academic for almost 40 years. I've done technical research into scholarship of teaching and learning. And now I want to look into the finance aspect of education. So today's presentation is on LIFE. That's the acronym we have created for low interest rate finance for education. Yeah. The idea is to broaden the access with limited fiscal outlays for everybody around the world. And how we can do that? Some ideas will be presented today. However, As I will cover later also, it's a research topic and it has to be further investigated. So I will be covering these points. What are the challenges? Why we are thinking about this mode of financing? And what is life? What is the core concept and its key features? The structure of it has got to be a loan. We will investigate, we will talk about it. What if it's a loan? It has to be repaid. What will be the repayment mechanism? What's the innovative ideas proposed in this solution for internationally available education to all? Use of central bank monetization and making sure it doesn't lead to inflation. How do we boost receipts? And how do we tap into private capital as well? What will be the benefit of doing that? And how we can calibrate it for each country, localize it. And there are lots of research questions yet to be answered. So that's the first point making. It's a research topic. And then I will conclude and tell you what the next steps will be. You already been introduced to me, so I will not read through this. This is just saying that I have had teaching experience for almost 40 years, and now I'm shifting my focus in collaboration with my son onto the finance aspect of education rather than just delivering education. So everything in this you have already heard about. As an academic, I have published extensively, written books. My multimedia information networking book was one of the first on that topic in the world, and many other books and over 120 papers, etc. And I present that to you to make you aware that I understand the educational environment very well around the world. Even though I have not worked on the finance aspect, I have always been concerned about the finance aspect of it. Overseas students who come to Australia, go to America, they pay so much fees, they have to do menial jobs to try and earn money to pay the fees. I used to sort of feel guilty sometimes. I'm getting a good salary in Australia, but my students who have come from India, they're having to do very menial jobs sometimes, cleaning, Uber driving, to be able to pay the fees which pays my salary. Do we have a better mechanism? That is the whole concept behind this idea. And as I said earlier, my son, Mr. Ankur Sharda, who's a master's of financial mathematics and from the University of Western Australia, he is conducting further research into the efficacy and the implementation modality for this idea. So the challenge, how to provide education to everybody in the world. We know I can give you endless statistical data, but I have not included here. Our lives improve with education. All the wars we are seeing in the world, we can stop those wars with education. So, but how do we finance it? And I will come to it in Australia, how the financing situation has changed in the last few decades. And we are taking the idea of the life model from there. And we are proposing this as the solution, as a framework, so that we can provide access to higher education around the world with the help of governments without putting burden on the government coffers. The whole idea is income contingent loan. So people get a loan to do their education and get some living expenses too, but they repay only when they start earning in the future. In the first instance, some people might say who have not heard about it, oh, how is it going to work? You're going to give loan and if people earn only then they repay. But it's been working in Australia for almost 40 years now. Universal eligibility, anybody we want who wants to study further their prospects in life of job prospects, income prospects, quality of life prospects, they should be able to qualify. We envisage that there will be no barriers put on this. And we want to support both tuition fees and a indexed modest living allowance, not over the top, not luxurious. You'll see in each slide I put some picture which relates to the content. You might think, how does this picture relate to the modern slide set? God, it looks like Gautam Buddha and his students sitting in front of it, shishas sitting in front of it and listening. So that was a time when you could sit under a banyan tree with very simple food. The students survived and they got learning from their guru, from their teacher. Today is not that word. Therefore, finance comes into picture. And there's where low interest rate finance comes into picture. The idea is to tie it to the 5-year treasury bond yields. I'm not going to go into the financial details, just throwing in a few ideas here. Remember, it's a short presentation. Yeah. So this has been investigated by Mr. Ankur Sharda to great extent, but more work needs to be done. So we talked already, both tuition fees and allowance should be covered by it. Key features, income contingent repayment, only when earning exceeds a threshold. And we'll talk about where do we set the threshold, possibly at 110% of the median full-time wage in that country. So in Australia, students build up a loan when they study for higher education, and that's called Higher Education Loan Program. Government is paying for it in a sense to the university on their behalf, and that is being accounted for along with tax. They will repay it when they start earning above a certain value, and if they don't earn above a certain value, they don't pay it. A lot of questions people will ask. The other day I listened to a whole lecture by the gentleman who proposed this 30 plus years ago. When I came to Australia, education was totally free. Couple of decades before that, people had to pay high fees. So first Australian, one government made it totally free, but then they found some students were misusing it. They were attending classes but not finishing courses. Then they brought in HEX, that you have to have a sense of responsibility, that you finally have to pay it back someday, especially if you earn well. And that's the idea we want to carry over to the life concept. What is the backstop? The central bank of any country, every country has a central bank, which keeps track of the monetary status of the country. And it does, in general, for most of the countries, financial issues becomes the backstop. So it can become backstop for this type of loan as well. And in a sense, in Australia, it is already happening. So when people say, and when I listened to the lecture from the gentleman who proposed, when he proposed it 30 plus years ago, he was asked, is there any evidence that it works in any other country? He said, no, no other country has done it. Some countries like Germany give total free education. Like US, another person made a presentation in the same series from US. He was complaining about the US system where people have to take loan from banks which they have to pay back. If they die, their parents have to pay it back. But Australia has created this great idea where if you earn above a certain limit, then you repay. So debt retirement, any loan balance remaining at a borrower's death or after severe or several decades of severe illness, it is retired completely. So somebody is bearing that cost. It's like insurance. Who should provide that insurance? The central bank. Should not be transferred to the taxpayer, because taxpayer will complain if they are having to pay for education of some people and not getting any benefit. However, such concept can lead to inflation, but if the write-offs, some loans are always written off when banks give out loans. But if the write-off kept below, that is the initial calculation done by Mr. Ankur Sharda is 0.2% of GDP, it will not impact inflation tremendously. Yeah. How will the cost be offset finally? By having high completion rates, more people getting higher education. increased access, more people going for education, getting good jobs, and then paying tax. Ultimately, governments run on tax money. So the more people who become capable of earning more money, pay more tax, that is the ultimate benefit apart from the social benefit, apart from the country overall progressing, apart from people thinking of doing all sorts of nefarious things, including wars, focusing on education, focusing on advancing the well being of their community, their society. So, this will potentially offset all the program costs. That is the conjecture we have at this point in time. And we can turn into a security so that private capital is also ready to invest in it. It may not be a high return investment, but more stable, more reliable investment. For example, superannuation funds. Australian superannuation funds have at least $1 trillion, multi-billion dollars invested, and they would like to invest into more secure financial instruments. So one can package a cohort of loans which are backed by the life system, life backed securities, as a proper security, which are capable of becoming very good investment vehicles, which are rated and traded much like other investment portfolios. That's the idea. Benefit of doing that, you can get private capital also, you can get institutional investors into it. Superannuation funds I already talked about. And this will reduce any possibility of direct impact on the government budget. However, it's up to the government. The Labour government in Australia 2 days ago reduced the HEX debt. Everybody who studied in Australia has a HEX debt, reduced by 20%. They said they're going to spend, I don't know what, $50 billion on that. But they thought we have the money, we can afford to do it. So reduce the HEX debt on people. That's Australian government's choice because they had money. But what it comes down to is that we don't want government to be burdened by it, but if government has spare money, they can put more money into it. And we can scale it up quickly, start small and scale up quickly in countries where Australia already has it. Already my son, because he's connected to Vietnam, there is RMIT Vietnam, etc. Maybe the next country where we may like to try this. So flexible design, keeping reasonable interest margins, and we want to make sure, I'm jumping to this payment, that we have good repayment patterns. Most people will repay, and we have seen this in many other microfinance, that people who get loans for specific purposes of this nature repay it back. So we want to, one of the things is, depending upon the country, one might have to look into the legal feasibility, administrative capacity. In Australia, it's done by the tax department. I learned it's only another 10 or 20%, I forget the exact figure, burden on the tax department to collect the HEX loan that students have. You don't have to set up a separate department for it. But as I pointed at the beginning, this is a concept and not a blueprint. It's not a finished product. This idea we want to talk about, work on it, invite other people to join the systems that my son is creating, and possibly then make it really available around the world. So in conclusion, it can become a global framework to make higher education available to many more people. And our focus is on reducing financial barriers to getting education. So call for action is further research with data to prove that this concept will work. So with that, I'd like to give you all who are listening my contact details. My email is simply nalinsharda@gmail.com, and I'm on LinkedIn. Luckily, I'm only Nalin Sharda in the world. So if you Google or you go to LinkedIn, you'll find me. Feel free to get in touch and have a little chat about the idea. Thank you very much. And this, is that the correct word?
That's right. That is exactly right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Goodbye.
Sharda. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So thank you, Dr. Sharda. And GIS is exactly the right word. As Esperantists know, GIS is just short for Gisla Ravido. That is until we see each other again. And so, in conclusion, let me make some concluding statements for Dr. Sharda's prelego, as we say in Esperanto. By the way, I'm not very uh, advanced in my Esperanto knowledge, so I'm pretty much reading from a script here. So here we go. Dankon Dr. Sharda pro via prelego, via messaggio tuŝis multajn nivelojn. Thank you, Dr. Sharda, for your lecture. Your message resonated on many levels. Ni certas ke ĝi resonos longe post ĉi tiu sesio. We're sure it'll stay with us long after the session ends. Tio estas ĉio por nun, sed ni baldaŭ revenos kun pliaj brilaj mensoj kaj allogaj ideoj. That's all for now, but we'll be back soon with more brilliant minds and engaging ideas. Ĝis tiam, restu bone kaj daŭre pridubu la mondon ĉirkaŭ vi. Until then, be well and keep questioning the world around you. And then, from my side as well, and this is something I do know in Esperanto, ĝis la revido. Until later.
Namaskar. Bye.
Merci, and see you all next time.